inclined to finding a unique improv games.
And that makes sense, but I still need to figure out how to know that we just framed the fucking game.
I think so.
I'll start yelling.
Yeah.
Do the bell.
But we could, why don't we switch to be like, what, 10 minutes? We could do the bell.
But when we did the bell with the game before, we still let the players try to figure it out. With the bell just meant that you guys heard a game. But that didn't mean, but it was still our responsibility to find the game. Remember I kept telling you the bell?
Whenever I heard the bell, I'd try to frame it.
Right, well yeah, damn straight, that's right.
Do we want to do the bell? Do we want to do normal two-person scenes with the bell?
Can I try to do the bell?
Yeah. So you guys just do a two-person scene.
Be so generous with the bell.
Yeah. When Sophie thinks she's heard something that's a game, she's gonna ding the bell.
He literally brought the bell into the scene because I kept hitting it. He's like, "Do you hear something?"
Okay.
Yeah. Do a two-person scene when we hear the game. Sophie dings the bell, and then whoever
is responding.
Right. Well, it doesn't even have to be. Yeah. I mean, just someone frame the game.
Yeah.
It's a little bit looser. We're going into between play and exercise. We're meeting in the middle.
Okay.
Paddle.
Paddle?
Paddle.
Write that down. We gotta use that again.
That's the new group name. Mister, your teacher called me again. Told me you've been getting in trouble in school.
So that makes me. Oh, I'm not.
Oh, you're not doing any?
No, we're still doing that makes me think of still, right?
Are we?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
we're
okay.
still doing that.
Okay, yeah. So that makes me think of being a little kid and getting in trouble with my mom scolding me. And the most interesting thing about that is I was a really good kid. And so what? How could I be in trouble? I didn't even do anything.
I'm thinking about my niece who's 6, and she always thinks she's the smartest person in the room, but everyone can tell she's lying. And I think the most interesting thing about that is just the way that 6-year-olds think when you're a little kid. I can tell when you're lying because whenever you're lying, you cross your eyes. Yeah, so don't even try it because I know all your tells.
It's not fair.
Are you? So are you?
I don't know. I've got like different exercises.
So I
don't know
think we
what
should
I'm
just
doing
keep
right
doing
now.
just keep going. That
Okay.
makes me think because they said when you're
Okay.
good at it, you're going to do the 3 thing. We're
Okay.
practicing this.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So that makes me think of being a group counselor in like group homes for kids and how often they would just lie straight to your face. And so I'm not lying. Prove it. You can't prove that I'm lying.
I suppose I can't prove that you're lying without you taking this lie detector test.
There we go.
Wait, was that you?
But then how would you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, how would you
Well, that
respond
was-
to frame that?
Well, wasn't that the
Would that be the
wasn't that
framer?
the frame?
Yeah, that was me.
That was the frame.
That was
Yeah,
the
let's
frame.
see.
That's
Okay.
it.
That was
I
like
just-
saying.
Pulling out a lie detector test
That would
seems like
be
a
the
weird
weird
thing.
I think so.
So then you would have to
Yeah.
frame that though
okay.
to say
So
we
what
recognize
would you-
it.
What would
Okay.
you say to your mom
Okay.
saying you have to take a lie detector test?
Bring it on. I've passed it every other time.
Yeah.
I know we don't have. I think we all have time to go maybe like one more time, right?
I set the alarm.
Yeah. Okay. I wanna drop the flash and I wanna just try to work towards the game naturally because I like the flash and I think we should do it again next week. But I think I've realized we're all having trouble finding the game and framing it, so I feel like we should go back to finding the game and framing it. And then we can do more with the flash because I think the flash is really good for Ada seeing it and building it. But
I'm gonna do the flash silently in my brain.
yes,
That's a great idea.
I want to see because I know. I think
Yeah,
we'll
let's
go-
try to be formally try to actually do it. Don't go by your instinct, just to fucking actually formulate.
Yeah,
Go
you
first,
don't
first,
have to
okay.
spit out the line as soon as like I will use the scene, and then we can actually focus on our scene work a little because I know I'm just standing there like waiting.
Yeah.
Make it the word.
Farmer's market.
Farmers market.
I just. No one wants to purchase my tomatoes.
Your tomatoes are all slimy. and it just seems like every time I've ever bought a tomato from you, when I cut into it, it's almost all liquid in the middle and no tomato.
Yeah, that's what a tomato is.
Yeah, that was framing. You framed it.
I think-
Tomatoes are big slimy balls.
Maybe because I feel like I didn't frame it in terms of my words, but did it get across that like in terms of attitude I was framing it? Like,
You're like,
yeah,
that's how I feel.
Yeah,
that's
tomatoes.
what a tomato
That was
is.
done, dipshit.
You don't know what a tomato is. That's actually a really good game. Someone comes up and they're like, can I get some corn? And you hand them a corn and they're like, what? Why is it all attached? Why is it like, how do I eat it with a spoon?
Just
Sorry.
when you're not doing
That's
it.
just generally a
Well,
good
it was
game.
it was confusing though because you were like, why is nobody buying my tomatoes? And he gave a bunch of reasons why,
Oh, that's true.
and then it was, as an audience member, it was a little confusing.
I'm wondering
Yeah,
if like with the
oh, they're just regular tomatoes now.
There's no.
There's-
and with
So,
the
like,
with
you
the
think
yes
it's
and
normal
concept,
at
we're
first.
like adding details to it. We're just kind of like the short responses might not be like giving the details to create this basis.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a scene that a lot of it was attitude, because they're like about attitude and like emotional response.
Okay,
rather
so
than-
you could say like, why are you so defensive about your tomatoes?
Well, more so the way
Yeah.
you responded. You weren't like, yeah, they're slimy, and I think it was the way you kind of slowly peeled it out. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but eventually I was like, he's just describing a fucking tomato. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm like, that's weird.
Oh,
So
right.
it's like we didn't set the game up and frame it in terms of words. It was kind of nonverbal, and you had to read between the lines. It's a little bit of a like higher level scene because it's not as obvious. I don't know if that was intentional.
Oh
but
yeah, definitely higher level.
You,
Yeah. I don't know, man. That was-
You were
Yeah.
just
that was a little
describing a
confusing.
tomato.
I can't.
Because I could have been like, yeah, they're slimy, but I think that was an example of playing to the top of your intelligence, right? I'm like, I don't know why they're slimy. Like, they're tomatoes. Of course they're slimy and they're all water in the middle. That's a tomato.
So maybe when that happens, explain it though. Explain that instead now, because we're trying to actually work with intellectual stories. I get what you're saying. Like just going, that's what a tomato is. I mean, that's what you're saying. The frame is that he doesn't know what tomatoes are. I'm just trying to understand by what you're saying. That's what you're saying. That's the game that he doesn't know what tomatoes are.
It's not, he doesn't know what tomatoes are.
Okay.
Think of it more nebulous, right? He purchased something, got exactly what he purchased, did not want it. Or like getting exactly what you're given and then being like, I didn't want this, right? Because
Well, I think that if that was what the game was, I think I would have gotten clear on that if we did another example of me or you maybe selling me something else and saying like, here's a pea, you know it's green, there's like stuff in the middle of it.
you're playing the game though then at that point, right? So that's the next
Well,
step.
no, but then, well,
Do
part
it.
of the game framing is sometimes repeating what the other person said to let them know. Be like,
So like, are you
yes,
saying?
they are slimy
Yeah.
and something with this, but I actually think that that's whatever. Because like
I
that
guess
wasn't repeated.
We probably would have done that if we kept going, but we ended it after the
Okay, so
we framed it. If
Right.
we'd kept going, yeah, I would have been like, here, try my peas, and you would have been like,
so let's
Why
keep
are
going
they
until
so
that's
hot?
like obvious at that point, I guess. Probably.
yeah, I thought we were getting the game and then framing it.
I think this is why we talk about it.
What if-
Anyway, but maybe I'm wrong.
What if we did a frame reframe? So like you frame it and
then
then
you
I
run
have
another
to
example.
no like I have to almost somehow like
Repeat that.
kind of like
Yeah.
yeah, so we both know, oh yeah, you know, because
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, the second
Right, because
improviser needs to
you
accept
looked
the frame.
like you looked confused
yeah, I couldn't pick up
after, yeah.
at all.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think you are super strong with having the attitudes like that and posing it. I just don't know if that's exactly what was going on right there. Just saying that's what a tomato is. From
No,
what you said, I'm having a problem seeing that game right there.
I mean I totally see the game. I think it's like I think the point of the exercise is making sure that the game is shared,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And so like you had the game, but he didn't have it yet.
Right. And,
And
I
so,
didn't
and
either.
so
Right.
yeah.
I
Like-
saw the hand
I
raise.
think I could be totally wrong, but like I feel like anything could be a game as long as, like you said, it's like agreed upon.
Right.
So like when you started with a funny voice, I was like, because I feel like in some world, like
Don't
it's
make it
like
closer.
a grouchy, like funny voice accent, like tomato farmer could be the game. Like,
But
I
that
don't
would be
know.
the base reality
But then
at that point. And remember, base realities can be goofy.
I know, but I don't know if it's agreed upon. Maybe I don't know.
Well, you would have to have some frame of reference. So the base reality is we're just making weird voices?
I don't know.
Well,
I just-
a lot of people will like argue over the definition of game, and
Right.
it's hard to define.
But
But a lot
arguably
of
we
people
need to
will
be
say the
agreed.
game isn't the first funny thing.
Oh,
It's the first weird thing.
oh, okay.
It's the 1st
Mhm.
thing that the characters have agreed upon that stands out as odd within this universe.
Okay.
So it's
It's
not
like-
the first funny thing.
Oh,
that happens.
okay. So that makes me think when I'm like setting us up as being in a coven as vampires, that's not the unusual thing. That's the base reality.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
being vampires wasn't the game. It was the wanting to be a vampire. The vampire wanting to go sparkle.
Yeah.
That was what I saw as
Nice.
the game there.
Vampire
Vampire
wanting
wanting
to
to
be-
on vampire.
And that you were gonna support me in going to be a sparkler.
Yes. And
Okay.
if the scene went
Despite it
one
being
more line
stupid.
further, it's set up the game, frame it, accept the framing. So the
Accept the
next
framing,
line
yeah.
might have been,
I like that.
and I want to eat garlic bread. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
so that's why
Okay, I get
if
it.
your
Yeah.
next line had been like,
I don't want to treat you like my
and
parents
your
did.
corn comes on this stupid cob. It's like, okay,
Right.
you've accepted the framing. You recognize that we're going from like, you didn't know what a tomato is. I'm like, yeah, I gave you what you asked. If you give another example and you go, yeah, this corn comes on a stupid cob. In my head, I'm like, he's got it.
Mhm.
We're on the same page, right? Because
Mhm.
we're only doing game, frame. We're not doing that like framing response to show the ideas are connected because
Mhm.
we've been ending the scenes after we did that first line of framing. But the following line would be like acceptance of the game, acceptance of the framing.
Mhm.
So
We
we.
should add that.
So okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Ready?
Yes. Someone else is on board.
You guys found it.
This is the game.
We're good. The audience just claps.
I will just go digging. I don't need the map. Oh.
That's the
Popcorn.
that's
Popcorn. If you're going to leave popcorn all over the place, I just ask that you vacuum after yourself.
Okay, Dad. Sorry I have friends to watch a movie with when you're at home alone all day.
Okay, so sorry that you have friends on home alone all day. Recording newspaper. Well, you could show how sorry you are for me by vacuuming after yourself and throwing popcorn at me. I deserve respect. Don't throw that popcorn at me. Vacuum it. Don't throw that popcorn at me. Vacuum it.
Yeah, I actually don't need that from you, so I don't need that kind of response from you because I have friends who, you know, hang out with me, so.
I hang out with you.
Is that the frame?
I don't know.
No,
Or
I have
you're-
to frame that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you hang out with me against my will.
too.
I have to watch
All right.
it.
I think I would get too hooked up on like finding the game like line for line because it's really good in like exercise form, but you don't want to get too in your head when you're actually doing
I
your
know.
scene.
I feel like it is hard.
It's
Oh, well,
such
the
a
only
battle.
thing I argue is this is a ridiculous exercise. We would never do
Yeah.
this. What we're trying to do is ingrain a thought process that
Okay.
we take for fucking granted.
What did you think the game was?
I think it was that like I don't know if this is a game, but that like this kid is like so precocious that he doesn't need their dad. Like
But I thought, see, where I was coming from is that I thought that was the base reality. So here's a
Yeah.
guy who wants his kid to clean up after himself, and she obviously doesn't care. So that's kind of whatever. And then the fact that you're going to start throwing popcorn at me, that could kind of go along with that. And that maybe is the usual thing.
I dinged right away at your first line
Yeah.
because right away I could see you guys rolling with, I'm a kid who's always just insulting their dad. I'm my dad's biggest bully. Because that's like
Yeah.
a role reversal of like a mean parent.
So that does sound like fun. I'm just like, again, I'm trying to get the difference between the base reality and the actual game, because that might just be the world we live in. I mean, that's a very normal world. There are parents and kids who have that relationship.
Yeah.
So
One way to think
I guess
of
the
it,
dynamic, or go.
you have a lot of parts. A scene is never going to be, let's say a scene has 10 parts.
Sure.
You're never going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we know that in a scene, you can set up the base reality. You can find a game. You can frame it. You can accept that framing. You know, you can yes and. Like, we have all these different parts. Most real scenes are like a mixing pot. A line might set up the base reality and frame, and the next line, or set up the base reality and find the game, and then the second line frames, and then the third line reframes, or maybe like someone comes up and you have a couple base reality lines, and you have a game line, and then you frame, and then there are a couple other lines before the person catches on, and then they reframe it, right? You need to, in the exercises, you're really trying to push like from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4 to step 5, but a real scene is more like step 2, step 1, step 1,
yeah.
step 3, step 5, step 4. Like, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And
So
we just
what
want to
you're-
have all these parts at our disposal.
So what you're saying is that an actual scene often has a mixture of those in all sorts of orders, right?
Yes.
Understandable. What I would say is that the idea of focusing on an exercise specifically is to get a certain routine down.
Sure.
You know, so we have to kind of like, well, we don't have to do anything, but trying to have a 3-sentence or 5-sentence like thing where we're like, we create a base reality because that's how we're going to find our unusual thing. We have to lay down reality. And our only reality was you had no respect for me. And then what would be the first weird thing that would come out of that? I would argue even throwing popcorn at me might not be, you know. So that's what the exercise was.
Yes.
So we'll get better at it. That's the whole
Yeah,
point.
it's one of those things where it can be good to slowly work your way out of the exercise. Maybe we do a couple rounds where we do the full like flash response, and then we do a round where we're not sharing our flashes anymore, but we're still going line, and then we find the game, and then we frame, and then we cut it, and then we get to the final step where it's just a natural scene where maybe we ding the bell, and we listen for the framing, but we let the scene keep playing out. You want to move basically from exercise, and you want to start moving towards like reality, and then you want to do that again and again. I think
That's one way to do it. Let me say this though. All right, this is this complicated thing that we're working on. I think if we just visit it and stop and keep doing that over a couple of weeks, we're going to start leading it and coming and processing, and then we have other stuff to do. What you're saying might take a lot of time, and we do have other things we want to work on. Yeah, it's kind of what we're going to end up doing anyways when we start doing the next exercise and stuff, but I think trying to be disciplined, the hardest thing with creative people, they have a creative shitload of things that they want to fucking interpret. We're done with the, do you guys want to do you want to do your thing and then we'll do the, do your thing. And then
I'm sorry. I was like, yeah, we're getting up to do a spoken. Yes, I want to hear you guys go.
Give me a word.
Monopoly.
Monopoly.
We're never going to be able to pay rent on time unless somebody buys this produce.
I don't know.
What do you think we could put it on eBay or something?
No, you're not allowed to mail fruit to other countries. We could mail it domestically maybe, but then we could just use the post office. Gosh, I never know how these
but
things
it,
work.
I don't know. Why do we buy so many kumquats anyway?
I thought it sounded cool. I'm sorry, honey.
It did sound cool, and
You trusted me
you
with
know,
so much
all
money.
the Robotrons sounded cool,
Yeah, that's
and-
where most of the
Game.
money
and-
went.
and
Ding ding.
like, all these things
The
sound
kumquats
cool.
were pretty cheap compared to the Robotrons.
The Robotrons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, that might have been the bigger issue than the produce. We should probably try offloading those.
Do you think the Robotrons we can definitely put on eBay, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
right. So we.
The kumquats, though, we're probably just gonna have to compost them.
Have you
Are we
guys found a
good?
game yet?
Yeah.
I just laughed at fucking cow.
I mean, the game. I think it was like
If we were
Buying
to keep
weird
going,
shit,
I would
yeah.
have kept pointing out expensive
Like,
things
expensive
that I
items.
bought.
I thought it was because
Right.
you're buying
Sounded
things
cool.
that sounded funny, like Atari.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably it would have been something to do with a continuous line of like things that you could
Yeah.
sell.
I would have
That would
kept
be
going
hard
like
to-
with you because I was assuming like we were like married, we owned a business together. You had entrusted me with the money to stock our store, and I bought Robotrons and kumquats, and now I'm like, we're losing our house.
You got like a pogo stick in the corner
Yeah.
and a bunch of elephant trophies.
We gotta sell this stuff, man. Nobody wants it.
All right, are we down to Spokane?
Yes.
We got 20 minutes.
Spoken.
And I think that was an example of a scene that went a little longer before it found its game.
Yeah.
Because, you know, so sometimes, since we're doing an exercise mode, we really like to try to get to it right away. But you guys left a little bit more freedom. I can snap. Yeah, you just
You can stop if you want to.
I don't think I'm
Just pound it on.
My snaps are kind of wimpy. I learned to snap because of improv, because they would snap whenever like people did something good. He'd guess a game, and he'd call it. I can't do this, and they all.
Jay.
Jelly roll.
Are we doing a?
Spokane.
Well, are we doing like a spinach?
A
or
generator?
clover, or are we just popping into it? Oh, it's just
It's a
clover that
clover
goes
where-
down once.
Oh.
Whatever.
Say jelly.
Jelly roll.
Pumpkin roll.
Seasonal treats.
Candy apples.
Scarecrows.
What is overpriced? Those little pumpkins that aren't pumpkins.
Words.
Gourds. Overpriced gourds.
The candies that they look like pointy pumpkins.
Squishy.
Jelly roll.
Jelly roll.
Jelly roll.
Dance move.
Oh wait, spinach.
Oh,
We'll
oh,
only go
oh, we
around
only
once.
want- oh,
So you're free. You're free.
Okay.
Come here, honey. I know you're a senior in high school, but I'll still get your hair ready for the first day.
Thank you so much.
You're not too old for me to do your hair.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just embarrassed about what happened last year with the teasing. I couldn't get it out for a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, you know, what were you thinking you wanted to do today, Sarah? What were you know, we did pigtails, I braided, I had a ponytail, put it in a bun.
I just feel like those are all for like small children. Like I'm starting community college today. Like I just think maybe like honestly maybe like flat iron.
I feel like it was just yesterday. You're starting your senior year of high school.
Yeah.
How,
But,
how I get my days mixed up. Well, you know,
Oh.
maybe we could just.
Right, sorry.
We could just, how about we just do,
Yeah.
you know, some simple crimping, some curls.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it won't be like, you know, all, you know, your pictures in middle school, you know, I have it hanging up here.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, it's for
Yeah.
everybody to see.
I love this photo of you, but it is the time I cut your bangs way too short.
Yeah.
Look at the rubber ducky.
What is that haircut?
I feel so terrible.
Sweet, sweet, sweet.
Don't worry, honey.